Well, that was one way to start, Nick. An excellent way to start. Well done,
Let's get
sir.
right into it, you know?
Royalty-free music for anyone out there who's wondering, royalty-free.
That's right.
But let's get into it here. That was a pretty good way to introduce it. But for those who are just getting in and missed the opening video, we will send out the recording after this so you can get the full experience. But we are here. The title today is From Padawan to Jedi, How to Quickly Advance Your Data Analytics Career. My name is Adam, and I am with Tessellation and Data Coach. Before I turn it over to Nick to drop some knowledge on y'all, just want to point out there is a Q&A module. So if you've got questions, please ask questions. We'll get to as many as we can. We're also going to ask you some questions. So at times during this, we'll fire up the poll, and we'll get you guys have a chance to answer some questions from us. And there is a chat as well. So looks like someone's already found it. Good work. Have fun. Be respectful. You can ask questions there if you want. Best to use the Q&A module. So our sponsors quickly, as you saw from that video, Tessellation is a modern analytics consultancy. We enable and manage organizations' analytics and self-service teams by educating people, optimizing technology, developing world-class products, and providing sustainable results. Also brought to you by Data Coach, where most analytics training programs lack depth. Data Coach provides wisdom. Our modern curriculum is unparalleled, comprising video lessons, hands-on exercises, and a capstone project designed around your company's data. And Data Coach offers a truly premium service, one-on-one coaching by a Jedi. And that's a guarantee. These are Jedis out there. So I'm going to turn it over to Nick here. With over 9 years of industry experience and one of the highest accolades in self-service analytics community, Nick Haylund brings incredible analytics dexterity to the table. As one of 47 international individuals awarded Alteryx's highest honor, the ACE title, Nick is a true expert and Alteryx designer. His mastery in server deployment, automation, and software training expands into Tableau as well. Nick proudly runs a local Alteryx user group and organizes community gatherings to make advanced analytics accessible to everyone. As a principal consultant and manager of strategic partnerships with Tessellation, Data Coach's parent company, Nick champions our Alteryx practice and global partnerships. You can connect with him by signing up for Data Coach. And I'll end with, Nick is also a really cool guy. That doesn't come through in this webinar, then your money is guaranteed back for your entry into this. Nick, what do you think, buddy?
Hey, I appreciate it. You're my hype guy. I'm gonna bring you everywhere. I really appreciate the intro, and I hope some of this information that we're gonna be sharing today is valuable for the folks attending. And I couldn't agree more. Money back if it doesn't. One thing I'm gonna call out early for all the attendees, and we'll make a shout out at the end too, is we're actually giving a discount code to everyone in the spirit of May the 4th, and also just in terms of helping folks get educated. So for 50% off of Data Coach modules, you can use the code May 4th, and I'll have Adam drop that into the chat just for future joiners, and so we don't forget that.
I'm on it. So I'll do that right now.
Make another shot at the end. So thanks for that. With that, we're also going to, I'm going to see how fast I can get Adam to type here. I was going to kick off the webinar actually with a poll just to kind of get used to using that functionality. We're going to have a couple fun polls here. And the first one I believe is going to be, what is your favorite Star Wars series? So I'm going to have that queued up. And no bias, mine's going to be other, because I'm really into the Clone Wars animated series, which has tons of great stories in it. It's really underrated, and I encourage everyone with that Disney Plus account to go check it out now that it's on there. But yeah, I see the results coming through. Original trilogy, it's hard to beat that. It's hard to beat a classic. No one really likes Jar Jar Binks, so the prequels, can get pretty bad on that one. But cool, there we have it. At 58% original trilogy. Squeezing past the newest trilogy, which I also really enjoyed. So, and then the prequels actually came in second place. Nice, cool. All right, so with that, more polls to come, more results to come, but let me start sharing my screen and we're gonna get into it about what we're talking about today. So I'm gonna go ahead and share. And I'll say who can share, probably only the host. And screen, perfect. All right, well, there's a little spoiler. Okay, so present. Adam, can you see my screen all right?
I got it, man.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks for everyone for joining today. We're going to be talking about, starting a career in data, or maybe leaning in into more of, data in your current career so that you can make it maybe 100% of your job versus maybe perhaps having it be like 50% of your job today. As Adam mentioned, we both work for Tessellation. We really focus on educating people in the self-service analytics space. That includes tools like Alteryx, Tableau, Power BI, Snowflake, even getting into UiPath, and tools like ThoughtSpot and UI and Matillion. But we also build things for folks. Like, we also love to teach people, but we also walk the walk. We build sustainable products, and that's something we're really passionate about. Some of our allies that we have here, of course, are going to be our software partners, like as you see at the top, but also our great clients that we have towards the bottom there. All right, we talked about Data Coach. We have the discount code in the chat if you want to get going on it. I won't get too much into detail about it, but it's a platform, it's a program, it's coaching, it's content, it's capstones, it's everything you need to really get started in the data analytics career, or to level up or take it to that next level. I would consider it maybe synonymous with the Jedi Temple, where the younglings go to start their training or to skill up and sharpen up their already great Force tools. So for today, from Padawan to Jedi, so we're even going to skip over the youngling aspect of a Jedi's journey and just skip right into Padawan. If you're here, you're probably already at that Padawan level. You're taking strides to research more about a career in data. Perhaps you already have a couple tools under your belt, for softwares, or maybe you have a couple languages that you've started to explore, or maybe you've created that first data science model and it really triggered your interest into leaning in more and learning more. So you're already kind of probably at that Padawan stage. So how do we get to that next level is what I'm going to talk about today. Agenda, we're going to get into it so we don't have to necessarily pour over that one. So briefly, my path to data. So for me, as I talk to other people, it seems like more and more the story is a lot of the same for us. Late 20-somethings or 30-somethings or 40-somethings, or even 50-somethings and 60-somethings. Folks that have been in the industry, know the business, but have never had the opportunity to do the kind of fun stuff in analytics because they never had the programming background, or they never went to school for the coding or anything like that. Myself, my schooling and first jobs, the prequels to my journey, if you will, was all about customer service jobs. I was a garden boy over here, and I worked at McDonald's and Dairy Queen. I didn't have any kind of internships or any kind of coding, or I didn't have any passion for building computers at a young age or anything like that, which is super cool that folks have that, and a lot more of that is going on now. But I never had that kind of technical maybe opportunity, or maybe that interest early on in the stages, but I still think it contributed a lot to where I'm currently at today. Even in college, I majored in finance and economics, double majored, and I think my only class I took was a statistical class, and one of the best classes was econometrics, and that really didn't give me the kind of background that I needed to get into the data field necessarily. But it did provide the opportunity to do is get into a really fun company where I met my first, Jedi Master, Aaron Martin, who was my first boss there, who really helped me navigate the wild, wild west of Excel. So that's really where I started to get into data, when I started looking at pivot tables, index matching, started leaning into VBA macros, and then eventually SQL. That's really where kind of the light bulb went off, where I don't want this to be an aspect of my job. I want this to be full-time. I want to lean into the data analytics. I loved using SQL to help the media buying department over here get after more of their data than they previously were able to. So I discovered also Tableau there. And I discovered that the Tableau aspect of that 10% of my job really was what I wanted it to be 100% of my job. So from there, I went into banking to kind of get more into the data field. It was all about SQL there. And it was also good exposure to SAS models and translating SAS into PL SQL and measuring credit risk and a lot of stuff that was, quite frankly, a lot of the stuff was over my head. But I eventually got the opportunity to go to another bank and then work on Tableau projects. And then eventually found Alteryx as a self-service analytics tool. So I definitely took this long road to the self-service analytics space, but all of the steps I was taking on this journey was building on itself because I knew the struggle of Excel, of the month-end routines, of the data prep and cleanse practice, and sometimes the mundaneness of just putting together a report and not feeling that fulfillment that you want to feel when you go into work every day. It was when I went into that second banking job that I was really, rewarded in the automation and the data products I was building at that point. And it really had the light bulb go off of, this is where I wanted to, day in and day out, help other people all day, every day, save time by automating processes and giving some time back for them. So eventually went into consulting. So that was an opportunity for me not to just have or be in or exist in one field or industry. That was a good way to use the software to solve problems using data, but in multiple different industries, which I thought was a very, very interesting aspect of that. And eventually led me to where I'm at today, Tessellation, where I lead the data processing capability, which, of course, we have overlap of folks that are in Viz and data science. But that practice in particular really resonates with me for that in-between space, that analytical process automation where we can use Alteryx, Tableau Prep, Python, R, Power Query to prep and cleanse data, automate processes for people. So that's where I'm at today. Not exactly a typical route to go, but I think it's more and more common. And I think a lot of people today that you talk to, the most successful people in this space are the people that have been there. They haven't, they didn't have to necessarily get trained up with the clean data sets. They've been in industry. They understand the struggle. They want to get out of that struggle in the way that they want to, shift their career into data completely. So that's my story. We're going to get into like how, where you're at, what's the best place or how do you position yourself best to get a career in data if that is the goal of yours. So with that, Adam, do you want to fire off the next poll question? Because I think that'd be relevant for the industry to see what we got going on here.
There you go, Nick.
Awesome. I want to know about our audience here. What kind of current jobs and industries are people in?
Still got some results pulling in. We'll give you a few seconds here to get yours in.
Great.
And we'll close it in 3, 2, 1.
Cool. A lot of students. Great to see. And stepping back, it's not that you're at a disadvantage by having the opportunities to have an analytics degree. By all means, that's quite the advantage. So definitely, utilize those degrees, create those portfolios, make those connections while in school as well. And we'll get into that too. But a lot of people, analysts or, that are 100% in the data role, analysts that are trying to get into data role, it's great to see. And I'll check out the chat here too, see what other things are going on here for people's industries. Cool. Business automation. We got some people in consulting, fresh graduate looking for a job. Someone from Dyson over here. Awesome. Yeah, keep them coming. Just really interested to see how many, what kind of makeup we have in the chat. So I'll close that one out and we'll move along. You'll notice a theme here. We're going to start with a couple quotes and you'll probably see a couple characters that might look familiar if you are into Star Wars at all. So what is the Force? That was, what is data for me? That's what I was asking myself back in 2010, 11, 12. Where does my career fit in that space that I enjoy so much? So that's I'm not Luke Skywalker, more of a C-3PO probably, but I decided to put that one in there. All right, so getting started. If you haven't gotten started, if you haven't landed that career in data yet, or maybe you're in a career that data is a slight aspect of your job, but you want to make it 100%. Where do you start? Education. So, we have, of course, I'd be remiss to mention Data Coach, which is a type of education that you can absolutely skill up in the self-service analytics space. But there's also the formal degrees out there, the business analytics degrees. There's also the more informal degrees out there, like the nano degree programs out there. There's also an informal way from an education standpoint to learn, including internal company user groups. It also could be, you'll see user groups there later. You reach out to somebody about their blog post that they post on and maybe wanted to unpack that. So there's those informal routes too that are very much needed and powerful to start learning either a new tool or a new language, or maybe even more about an industry topic. Maybe you want to learn more about logistics and analytics and logistics, and you know as people in the space on LinkedIn, so you reach out to them to learn more about it. That's more of an informal way, but absolutely a powerful way to educate yourself on something like that. Blogs. There's going to be tons of blogs out there and available for folks that are going to be tool specific, but are also going to be, technique specific or industry specific. I think one of the things we can do if people are interested in specifically blogs, towards data science, being one of them, or even the tessellation blog, which we have a lot of good tips and tricks on how to do certain things with certain tools. We can drop that in the chat, or maybe I can drop that into the LinkedIn event page after this. I mentioned LinkedIn. I'm going to mention it again. It's a good way to connect with folks. I don't shy away from adding folks that add me who I haven't met in person. We're very much in a virtual world. If folks are interested in meeting somebody or talking to somebody about a certain topic, I definitely encourage you to try to connect with that person. I've had folks reach out to me, and I've absolutely reached out to multiple folks asking for advice in terms of, a career change, or in terms of, passing a certification or something like that, some advice, not a cheat sheet, but maybe some advice about tips and tricks on how to do something like that. So never shy away with that, and start to lean in, connect with folks, get involved with the conversation, or at least start listening to the conversation if you're not comfortable sharing yet. Twitter. So the only reason I have a Twitter account is basically just to follow the data folks on there. So there's a huge group, which is if you follow the hashtag DataFam on Twitter, you're going to have tons of really helpful, really cool Tableau folks that are going to be posting amazing visualizations, blog posts about techniques on how to create the best Pareto chart, or maybe a radial diagram. But then there's also a growing community of folks with Alteryx, and there's people out there with Snowflake, and the conversation is very much alive in Twitter in real time, or near real time, I should say. And it isn't as gross as some other spaces in Twitter. It's also just a great way to kind of start listening and seeing in that self-service analytics space, maybe some folks that you could follow, or maybe perhaps could become a mentor someday. User groups. We'll get into this a little bit more later, but the best thing you can do is go up to meetup.com and start to look at meetup groups around your town. Today, of course, it's so easy to join almost any meetup because they're almost all virtual. So we have folks in the Twin Cities user group that are showing up from all over the US, if not Europe as well. So join those. They have a lot of good webinars. Most of them are live. It's going to be a lot of good opportunities to connect with some big players in the self-service analytics space. You got your Zen Masters and your ACEs for Alteryx, but then there's also going to be the data science meetup groups that you can interact with a lot of really talented data scientists. And that's the perfect opportunity to introduce yourself and maybe ask them for advice, or, there's recruiters there too. And that might be a good way to network with those folks. Forums. So I call it forums to kind of do a catch-all. A couple of the best community sites I've seen out there, community.alteryx.com. It's a great space for training. It's a great space for practicing your skills. There's a lot of good blog content out there, but there, Tableau, Microsoft site for Power BI, that's a great space to go. And if you run into trouble with the tool, there's people out there that are literally competing for internet points that want to answer that very quickly. So that's a good spot to start if you want to get your answers answers to your questions, or if you want to start to interact with people that are all in on these tools and that really live and breathe these software solutions that you're working with. And then friends and family. the most encouragement you're going to get are probably going to be from your friends and family. If hope maybe you have a couple friends in the industry, ask them for advice. If you don't, maybe try to make friends with some folks in the industry. Offer to buy somebody a coffee when we're in the new world with the vaccine rollout, that we can actually interact, as Adam would say, with unstructured 3D hangout time. Go buy that coffee for somebody, pick their brain about the industry they're in or the role they're in. Then of course, look to family. If you build a project or something like that and you're not feeling good about sharing it out yet, your family's going to be a great, place to start to share that out. If you can explain it to non-data people in a simple way, you're going to be pretty golden to explain to people who are in that data space. So Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, in my experience, there is no such thing as luck. We'll come back to that statement later, but make your own luck with this kind of planning and goal setting here. And then Nick, I had beats in there, of course. Yeah.
Got a question that I find real interesting. They're all interesting, not to put some people above others, but listen to this one. As a grad school student in grad school for data, coming out of a career in media where this person was a storyteller for brands, interpreting analytics, big part of what they did, but never a person running the reports. Now they're trying to learn what is going on under the hood, but worried about getting the first role. This person took this education because they believe data is the future of storytelling, which I think, Nick, you and I both agree. In your experience, what is the best path forward for someone who does not want to spend 100% of their day crunching numbers?
Yeah. So we're going to get into it in the certain kind of aspects of how to land that kind of first gig. But I'm not sure if I address that, specifically later. So let's do that now. In terms of somebody who doesn't want to crunch those numbers all day, every day, but you want to tell that story, I think you need to have that foundational knowledge so that you can, talk the talk when you're speaking to a data engineer and you're requesting a certain data set, but you don't want to write that SQL query yourself. But you don't have to learn every single clause in the SQL language. You can learn 5 clauses, and that could be enough to get by to help guide that conversation. I think there's so many code-free tools out there today with like the drag and drop that we work with every day. Alteryx, Tableau. There's even Nime out there. There's tons of drag and drop code-free tools that perform the code-friendly aspect or that programming aspect that we can get by with really low code stuff and focus on getting to that visualization or getting to that end data set so that we don't have to spend all day crunching the numbers. If you don't want to spend all day crunching the numbers or prepping and cleansing the data, I think the space that might be most interesting to you would be visualization. So getting to that aspect where you might have to write some calculations, of course, in Tableau or Power BI or what have you, but ultimately what are you getting to is getting to that end visualization where you can tell that data story. So let me know if that answers your questions. Otherwise, we can absolutely unpack that a little bit more too. All right, so with that and with a nice shout out to B-Yodes, aka Baby Yoda, aka Grogu, I will go to the next slide. So how do we get that foundational knowledge? We need training. So we have Ahsoka over here. She's one of the ultimate Padawans and eventual Jedis, right? And how does she get there? It's through consistently train and upskill. How do you do that? So if you don't have the opportunity to do this at work, which is, of course, a great opportunity to learn and build, if you have a problem that you maybe identify, or a lot of people like to call them opportunities versus problems at work, try to apply software that you have available to you, either Alteryx, Tableau, or Tableau Prep, to automate that solution or accelerate the processing of that, or maybe to visualize a report in a way that was always in a crosstab, but maybe we want to look at it through bar charts or something more obtainable or digestible to a larger audience. So something like that is going to be the best way you can learn, because you're getting paid to do that, and it's also going to add value to your company immediately. But if you don't have that opportunity, you can go grab those trial license, or there's the Adapt program at Alteryx to snag a license there, where you don't have to purchase one. Or there's Tableau Public, which you can use the Tableau Public license for free. So there's definitely ways you can use these tools that you don't have to pay for them out of the gate, especially if you're using it from a personal standpoint and from a growing standpoint. And then from there, you don't need company data all the time to start building really cool things. There's a lot of community projects out there, including Workout Wednesday, that Luke Stanky and Spencer from Tessellation are heavily involved in and run. There's Makeover Monday in the Tableau community, where you can get creative and try to redo a Tableau dashboard. And it's not necessarily Tableau and Workout Wednesday, it's a Power BI aspect to that. There's weekly challenges in Alteryx that you can start to skill up and learn that way. There's Prep and Tuesday for Tableau Prep. There's tons of different community members that are driving community projects to make us all better. And that's a great way to start building. And then you're building up that portfolio, which you can eventually share with colleagues or perhaps recruiters. Forums and community sites. I mentioned again, so I won't belabor it, but the best people you can meet in the community are going to be on the sites like community.alteryx.com or community.tableau.com. Those are the folks that are all in every single day, day after day, answering your questions and helping you get better. So there's tons of folks out there. Even if you reach out on LinkedIn or DM them on Twitter for help, you'll be surprised about how many people will take the time out of their day to help you out. I know people have done that for me, and I absolutely would do that for others as well. So training. Next up, it's not, once you have some tools and skills under your belt, don't get too powerful or you feel like you might know everything, right? There's a lot of important aspects to landing a job versus just knowing how to build a model. And if you're a data science, if you know how to build a regression model or something like that, you might not be quite ready just yet for the real world of data science. Or if I got the designer core certification, but I've never applied that skill set to real life business problems, there might be some soft skills that I need to learn there in terms of working with stakeholders, or perhaps working in certain industries with certain pieces of data. So while you might feel like you have all that power now and all that unlimited power, scale it back. There's some other things we can need to learn here. It's not enough to just know. That can be a trap, right? If you don't have the other skills, including the know-how to work with data, if you're working and prepping and visualizing data using PII type of data, there's going to be some certain considerations that you have to make for that from a privacy issue, right? If you're working with financial data and you're not doing some QA checks or some quality checks and validation checks against the existing reporting, and that doesn't match, you're going to lose the trust in that data product that you built almost immediately. And that's really hard to earn back. So there's a lot of other skills that we need to make sure we're focusing on versus just how do I use this tool. Set up goals for yourself, including desired roles. So do you want to be that analyst crunching those numbers? Do you want to be that person who asked a question earlier that might be wanting to tell that data story, but also building that dashboard perhaps? Do you want to be in more of a team lead standpoint where you're not actually building, but you want to be more of the strategy and elevating and helping out other people to build out data products? Is that more of your role? So define that and then put some goals around that about how do you get to that stage of your career. Put a timeline together. Maybe don't say I'm going to get this next week, or maybe do. I mean, you can always go after it pretty quickly. But make a realistic timeline, but also keep yourself keep it aggressive so you can keep yourself accountable. If you miss something, that's all right. Just give it give yourself a change order and approve it, and then just keep going on it. So what's needed to achieve the above now that we have the rest of the skills ready to support it? If you put that timeline together and desired role, what's next? One of the key aspects, I think, to what I've been seeing lately that really differentiates candidates coming in and interviewing with me at Tessellation and other folks is the fact that when people have a portfolio, it's one of the best differentiators you can make. Something that's tangible that we can immediately look at, either it's like a Tableau dashboard, or maybe you published an Alteryx workflow in Gallery, or maybe you have some data science code in GitHub that we can review. The fact that we can actually look at what you've built versus somebody talking about it and in kind of an abstract fashion goes leaps and bounds. It's incredible. So there's tons of different opportunities out there. All these things that you see right here, you can post and host this stuff for free. So GitHub, create an account, post either your Alteryx workflows out there, or maybe some Python code out there that you used or built for projects. Tableau Public's free, Alteryx Gallery is free. And you can also blog. So the best way to, I think, to learn something a lot of times is to blog or teach about something. You might know a concept, but then writing, it all up is a different ball game. You really want to make sure you're getting everything correct. You want to make sure you're not putting anything out there in the world that might be off a little bit. So that's a great way to learn as well. Putting yourself out there is a very scary thing sometimes. Having a webinar or speaking at a user group is definitely an intimidating aspect of it. But like Yoda said, train yourself to let go of that fear. That's how you're going to get better and how you're going to grow. So portfolios are so great to bring to interviews. I can't stress that enough, which is why there's such a key aspect of the Data Coach program as well. Community. So a lot of this stuff that we're talking about right now, so much of it can be supported by the community. All the stuff that you're putting out there is not only growing your own brand and helping yourself out ultimately, it's really growing the community and helping a lot of other people that you learn. If you create one thing and put it out there, it's going to help 10 people. It can help 100 people. A lot of times you might not even know that they might download it, or you might have some blog people lurking in your blog and getting that thing, but the value will be there. And all of a sudden, maybe a year later, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, I read your blog that really helped me out that one time. And that's a really great feeling. So lean into the community. It's a great one for data. So you can do that again on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people on Twitter. User groups is another, of course, really great thing that you can start to meet people. In terms of locally, if you're really encouraged about getting a local job or something like that, it's not just the experts that are going there. It's definitely recruiters and other jobs and companies that are looking for those folks. And user groups are a great place for people to go and search for that. And then the forums, the community sites. So once you start learning the tools, you're going to probably think, you have everything figured out. You start maybe joining some of these user groups and you're like, oh, maybe I don't actually have everything figured out. The more you learn, the more you see out in the community some really great things, which is completely intimidating sometimes, but it ultimately helps you become a better developer and definitely a better person in general when you start to lean in there. So highly encourage that. With that, I want to see if we have another poll question. Make sure people are still with me here. I think the next one is going to be, in Star Wars, there's a lot of weapons. What's your weapon of choice if you had to choose one? Are you the lightsaber kind of person? Are you like Han Solo, just grab that pistol right away? You're going to kick it old school with the Force, or you're going to go hit up, R2-D2 for some backup there with the droids? The Force is a heavy hitter here, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, how do you not choose that? But I got respect for the people who didn't go with the Force, but I would have chose the Force. There you go. Let's share the results.
I like it. 2/3 of folks chose the Force, and I like the Jedi mind tricks aspect, of course. But you can't beat some good Force lightning by Emperor Palpatine. Not that he's the best person; he's kind of the villain, but. Find your allies. That's what I was kind of getting to. We have a lot of people holding some good weapons over here, lightsaber pistols, and got some droids. But find your allies in space. The best, ally is going to be yourself, to support yourself. But it's so much more fun to work on projects or find that colleague or that coworker that really is, finding that passion of data with you. One of the best experiences that I had for myself when I was in industry is when my friend Andres and I used to just like crush data projects together, and we just we'd sit right next to each other, bouncing ideas off each other about an Alteryx workflow or Tableau dashboard, and that was really really rewarding, and to have that other person to bounce ideas off of, but then also just kind of to challenge and kind of make you better, and want to kind of almost in a competitive way, want to make sure you're getting just as good at Alteryx as this person, or I'm just doing, I'm getting better at visualization because, my other colleague is. It's a good thing, kind of a healthy competition there. So find those work projects to collaborate on, find a community project. There's been a lot of opportunity lately, of course, with COVID, to partner on community projects in terms of analyzing and measuring data points. So there's Alteryx for Good, for example, is a program and platform that Alteryx has, where people can use the license for free to partner up with a nonprofit and help them out, either automate a process or improve their data analytics. So there's tons of opportunities out there. You just have to go out and find them. LinkedIn, Twitter, user groups, those are going to be the people that you'd be surprised if you reached out a lot of times, People are very apt if they don't already have, 10 mentees or something. If you ask to be, check in with them every month or something like that, to have yourself be held accountable, or just to check in with them to see, how maybe there might be opportunities for you down the road with them. And it's a good way to check in with that. So reach out to people. The moral of the story: reach out to people for mentoring and collaboration. It's a great way to meet some friends, but then also to help you grow. Find your R2D2 to your C3PO. Certifications. So we got General Grievous over here. This will make a fine addition to my collection. I hope you know that gift. He collects lightsabers from Jedis that he's taken down. But a good thing also to collect is certifications. So these are your Jedi trials, right? You know the tool. Now it's time to test your knowledge of that. A lot of them are free out there, like Alteryx, for example, has some free certifications. But before you even do that, even if it's free, go find those practice exams. They're going to be on community, on the forum sites, or you can just look at blogs that talk about how to, best navigate or be the most successful at these certifications. And while the certification route isn't the be all end all to getting hired, it's certainly a great checkbox to check. So if someone comes to an interview and they don't have a Tableau portfolio and they don't have a certification, that's going to be a tough thing in terms of trying to gauge their technical knowledge. We'll ask them about, what a LOD calculation is and that type of thing, which we'll get into. But if you have a certification, we already know, what level you're at. We can skip over all of the foundational questions, skip over that first 10 or 15 minutes of kind of technical thing and just go, beyond that and talk about higher level. What have you built? And those are the deeper conversations that lead to getting hired, or those unpacking those projects. So do your recruiter, your future manager, your future people person a favor. Make it easy for them to kind of check that box of saying, okay, you're certified. We can move on to the more value add activity there. And then take the free ones first. Tableau is not free, unfortunately, out there. I think if people know the tool, they should be able to go knock it out, but I digress. Alteryx is free, but take the free ones first. There's a bunch of other good ones out there on LinkedIn to kind of get your badges and certifications up there. The Data Coach program platform, we have our own certification platform through Credly and that type of thing, because it is something to show off and it is something to be proud of, and it is something to celebrate once you achieve it, because it is, definitely an exam. It's a trial. It's something to celebrate. So find the discounts where you can, like the one that we put in our chat earlier. Certifications definitely helps. Once you have the tools set down and you're attending all these user groups and you have your portfolio, you're almost time to lean into the thought leadership aspect. Don't think just because you've been in the space for a little bit of time, or that you might not know as much as person X over here, that you can't be a thought leader. There's going to be opportunities that you can speak at a user group. Take them. That's a good opportunity to focus on your soft skills, including presentations, and also including networking and putting yourself out there, like we said before, like kind of like with you, what you did with the portfolio, right? You'd be surprised how fast it catches up on you, that all of a sudden it's time for you to start mentoring other folks. So that could be in the capacity of participating in an online community, answering somebody's question. If you're working already kind of at a company and you already have that kind of data capability, or that the capacity that you're using data, reach out to your colleagues and see if they want to learn something new. Or if you see a process that someone's really struggling with in Excel, maybe reach out and say, let's automate that in Alteryx and build that together. Great way to do thought leadership is also to participate in hackathons. Maybe be that group leader in a hackathon that are virtual these days. So volunteer to lead a local user group. That was one of the first things I think that really kind of launched me into getting into consulting. Was I started to speak at a couple of user groups around the Twin Cities. Minneapolis is where I'm from. And before I knew it, I noticed that we were having quarterly meetings for Alteryx. And I was like, I bet we could do this more often. Like, I think it'd be pretty fun to do it monthly. The people at the time didn't really have the capacity or bandwidth to do that, which is completely fair. I did at the time for sure. So I was like, can I be a leader? And I was like, yeah, of course. So it doesn't hurt to ask, and don't be afraid to. The worst they can say is no, or to hang tight until next quarter or next year or something. So always pass on what you've learned is the theme here. Just like our Mandalorian over there did. All right, next up, before we get into it, our next poll question. So going to the next slide, let's do the next poll question. Before we're talking about Star Wars weapons of choice, I'm really interested to hear about this audience's weapons of choice in the analytics fields. So what are you best at? Or what do you like the most? Do you like to do, are you dangerous with Excel and VBA and pivot tables? Are you a Power Query type of person? Do you like to code straight to Python? That's fair. Just curious about what our makeup is here. All right, we got about a little over half of the people voting already. Tableau Power BI really overtaking here, but with about 50% of the votes. And there we have it. Coming in at a tie, Excel and code. And then at the bottom, the code-free drag and drop route of Alteryx/Tableau Prep. Interesting, very cool. So we had a lot of visualization people in here. I like to see it. So get those portfolios out there. It's easier than ever to have a portfolio of data visualization, including Tableau, but also, of course, Power BI as well. There's some really cool things. Enter competitions, like my colleague Jacob Kahn did. There's Power BI competitions out there. There's Tableau competitions out there, all free with public data sets. Perfect way to interact with the community and get some data clout, if you will. So once you're ready and you have this kind of stuff and you're already mentoring people and you already have your portfolio, it's time to pitch yourself to companies. And how do we do that? Sometimes the hardest thing is to get that first introduction, right? So it doesn't hurt to start following them on LinkedIn, especially, smaller companies. If you don't want to work for the huge conglomerate or something like that, you're going to be pretty visible. I'm not saying spam them, but if you keep interacting with them, liking their posts and commenting and that stuff, you will get noticed. I know we notice the folks that, consistently interact with us in our pages and stuff. You will be out there. And if that's something, if you have the skill set and you're already kind of in that data community and speaking their language, so to speak, in terms of marketing and interacting and having some fun with them, you'll have a good opportunity to have a conversation, I think. But follow those companies that you admire. Keep up with also the hiring patterns of those companies. Are they a seasonal, type, hiring? When's their fiscal year? If it's July, maybe wait or really look at their new jobs when June or July comes around, because there might be more opportunity at that stage. Connect with employees on LinkedIn. So I can't stress enough, if you reach out to somebody, the worst they can do is ignore you on LinkedIn. But if someone's in a role at a company and it seems very interesting to you, and that's like exactly the kind of role that you have envisioned in your mind, reach out to them and say, hey, you're doing exactly what I want to do. How'd you get there? Can you give me any advice? People will, more often than not, I think, take a 15-minute slot out of their day to have a short conversation, or you might be surprised that a lot of people do it for an hour. As mentioned, we're almost in this new world, buying somebody a coffee or having a lunch or something like that to have those kind of conversations is kind of a nice thing to offer up. And if you're local, that can be a cool thing, but definitely not needed. I mean, you can just reach out to somebody for advice, and I think you'll be surprised on how many people would do that for you. And then with that said, also leaders. So it's not just the employees that you can talk about how they got there, but a leader. If you feel pretty confident about the value add that you can add to a department or an organization, absolutely, I think, a quick LinkedIn message or an email or something like that, if you have it, about what value you can add to their department or an organization. If don't try not to guess, but when talking with employees and stuff like that, they have a huge backlog of Tableau dashboards that they need to make before the year end. Say, here's my show them, here's my Tableau portfolio. I understand that you have a big Tableau backlog. Let me add value by knocking that out with you, and let's have a conversation about that. Stay humble. Don't be too cocky when you're having these conversations about how you can add value, but definitely, give them your best and pitch yourself in a good way. Interviewing. So once you get that interview, you already pitched yourself to the company. You're ready to go now. It can be a make or break for an interview process. So explain why you want to work at that company. There's been so many folks I've chatted with who've, when I've asked, why do you want to work here? The question, it's a question that it feels like they never even really thought about it. That is not a good position to be in. Definitely know why you want to work at a company. It doesn't necessarily have to do with, really passionate about selling more widgets here. It could be, I'm really interested in the problems that you're trying to solve in this department, and here's how I can add value to that. And, that kind of positioning can also just be fine. Or it could be really passionate about, the company itself. You're like, you're curing cancer and I want to be a part of that mission. So it can be a multitude of things, but at least have something in mind when you're asked that question. And I hope you are asked that question when you're in an interview. In an interview, demonstrate expertise, right? So we talked about all this stuff before, but this is your time to shine. You've been working on this stuff now over the last, weeks, months, maybe even a couple of years. But talk about the previous role experiences if it's relevant. I think a lot of stuff is going to be relevant, even if you don't think that. Working in customer service in high school and college, I think my ability to interact with end users comes, directly from the empathetic, nature that I had to learn and be a part of in customer service. I learned a lot of patience in customer service. That also helps today. So I think there's a lot of applicable skills that people don't realize. It's not all about just saying, I know how to make a logistic regression model and here's my code in GitHub. It could also be like, here, let me tell you about an experience that was really challenging for me in the workplace, and here's how I dealt with it. Equally as important. Portfolio. So those are going to be your things, your GitHub, your Tableau public portfolio, Alteryx, your code, your blogging, the stuff that you can show them tangible about what you've built goes a long way. Certifications we talked about, definitely, put those on your LinkedIn. I think, the more certifications you have out there and that you're showing off, you'll be surprised on probably how many recruiters start knocking on your door, because if they see you have the certification, they know you have the chops to handle a lot of the stuff that they're going to throw at you. And then the stories about how you solve real business problems in the past. It's really great that there's a lot of folks graduating with analytics degrees these days. I think the biggest gap there is sometimes they don't have a problem that they have been able to explain how they solved. It could just be like, here's how I visualize this data, but the story isn't there about why it's important that we visualized it or what the visualization is telling us now. So try to meet that gap, or try to close that gap and apply even non-real world problems to real life situations that you can address using your skills that you know. And then for sure be ready to answer those technical questions. Watto says, don't, Jedi mind tricks don't work on me. You can only go so far into the interview where you're going to run into a technical person that says, describe a level of detail calculation to me. And if you answer that as, it's kind of like a running sum or something like that, you might run into some trouble. Or if you say, explain the 3 different types of Alteryx workflows, and you explain 3 different types of macros instead of the workflows, well, we're going to know you're probably not even course certified, kind of a thing. So these types of questions and stuff, while kind of be, could be a little bit tense or awkward to ask folks, it's definitely needed. Unfortunately, because if we don't have a portfolio and we don't have a certification, we're going to have some rapid fire questions for you. So just be prepared for that. And if you didn't get the interview, or you got the interview and you didn't land the job, don't worry. I've been there. I think everyone's been there. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. As Luke and Han and me and everyone else in the galaxy has said after an interview, probably, I've got a bad feeling about that. Sometimes it doesn't go your way, but that's okay. What should you do when that happens? Keep skilling up. Don't think that you know everything, like Anakin Skywalker over here, who did have weaknesses. Maybe learn another tool, grab another language, which sounds, I'm making it sound easy, and it's not, but you can at least get aspects of that and start on that path. Blog about a project that you built. If you don't have a blog post, all good. Maybe go in the community and write up a little summary about how you solved a problem. That also counts. Get another certification, or if you are feeling motivated or you feel like you have a gym pass but not a personal trainer, head up your friends at Data Coach and we can help you out too. Reflect on the experience of the interview. Okay. So as I'm saying here, don't surrender to the dark side of the job search process. Don't get discouraged is what I'm trying to say there. Okay. So before Obi-Wan, he said, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck. That's not necessarily true. I was pretty lucky when I got my first job out of college with a great team. Also, there's, of course, I'm a white straight male in America. There's going to be a privilege associated with that. So there's a little bit of, either luck or being at the right place in the right time. But there's also a lot to be said about skilling up and really investing in yourself in terms of, languages, getting involved in user groups and putting yourself out there. So here's some things. Some companies are just not going to have the data strategy to support a role like yours, even though you could add value to the organization. Sometimes it's just not in the cards. Consulting firms. Sometimes the client work isn't, there. If we have 30 people and we don't have another, role for another 31st person until 2022, that is what it is, unfortunately, sometimes. So, kind of move along, or, be patient and maybe wait on the interviewing process, because sometimes stuff changes overnight on that front. So HR might have missed your resume completely. I've gotten a rejection letter, I think 6 months after I applied to a thing. And I'm like, where was this a while ago? I already forgot about this job. I already have a new job. Like, where did this one come from? So who knows? I mean, HR can also just, misplace your resume or something like that. And I say I roll to this, maybe they'll say you don't pass the culture fit or something like that, or we didn't see a culture fit there. As we say a lot at Tessellation, we're not looking for culture fit. We're looking more for people to grow our culture, make us better, and expand our perspective. So if someone says that to you, you're probably golden for not going there anyways. But with that, you'll get there. And once you do, the work isn't over. You have to keep learning, keep driving yourself to do better, keep driving your colleagues to do better. As this random pilot in Star Wars says, stay on target and you can get there. Once you do, be humble, keep learning. If you're in a position all of a sudden that you're now hiring, make sure to hire people that are smarter than you. Make sure you're keep on skilling up. You don't want to be lapped on the skill set, but you want to make sure you're always in that conversation. You can always be a part of that conversation. Keep being able to speak the language that other people can are talking around you. There's always going to be a bigger fish, but as Qui-Gon Jinn said, but you can be a part of that. So to wrap up, believe it. The best advice, keep networking. I think that's the best kind of piece that you can have when trying to find a new job. Tools and skills and soft skills too are super important, but it's really that network that are going to land. It's going to be like your network that lands. My dogs are going off over here. It's going to be that network that lands you that job. Okay. In most cases, it's either going to be the fact that you're on LinkedIn and people notice you, or it's going to be in a community that maybe some other folks are chatting with you and they're like, oh, do you want to come work for my company or be on my team? A lot of times that happens. Sometimes when you throw that resume into the dark abyss of a recruitment portal or something, it can get lost. But practice those interview skills too. Work on the soft skills if your technical piece is solid is another thing. So interviewing, presenting, that type of activity helps. And then of course, ask for advice for current employees on how they got to where they are today. You'll be surprised on how many people would help you out. So as Ray said, I can do this. I can do this. So with that, you're already here, so you already have what you need to succeed in a career in data. If you're missing something, ask for help. Don't be afraid of that. Okay. And then create your own path. So it's going to be the most interesting one for you. In short, you have everything that you need already today. So with that, thank you. May the fourth be with you. And any questions, I will scope out the chat now and we can look at them here.
Someone did say that Reddit's a good community too. I don't know if you mentioned that, but
great call out. Yeah. Absolutely. Reddit is a good one. Heck, I mean, even going on like Stack Overflow, and when we're looking up, some coding solutions and stuff, you're gonna find some key players out there and stuff too. But yeah, Reddit's a great one too. Great call out on that one.
Nick, someone asked, which portfolio is better, more certifications or more projects?
Yeah, great question. Projects, hands down. I think the more projects and stuff that you can kind of be involved in terms of being a contributor or leading that or building something to show is going to go a longer way than a certification for me. I think there are people out there that can be really great test takers, but then when it gets behind, a tool or software, really struggle sometimes to really create what we're looking for.
Yeah. Someone else asked, how can you prepare a portfolio and for Power BI as we need a professional ID to share the Power BI dashboard? Probably working on it internally. It's not suitable for public consumption, which I'm sure is pretty common. What do you suggest there, Nick?
Yeah, no, great question. So there's a couple different ways. Power BI in particular, if you can't share it with a certain license that you have, take a screenshot. You know, I'm not going to be worried about the tooltips or the click around functionality that you have. I'm going to be more in tune or more interested in the pre-attentive attributes that you put against the dashboard, or how the way it's laid out, or making sure you're using color in a very targeted and powerful way. In terms of, I run into that question all the time where, hey, all I have, what I've built so far is at my company. It's proprietary data. I can't share it. I would be surprised if you can't find a way to mask that data. You know, if there's certain numbers, multiply it by a random integer for every single cell and mask it that way. And as opposed to selling, ketchup over here, maybe you're selling widgets or something like that instead. So I think if you give yourself the amount of time it needs to mask or anonymize those kind of dashboards, I think you'll be in a good position to share that freely without risking, of course, really, really important security concerns there. Yep.
Well, Nick, George Lucas did call, and we have hit our upper limit on Star Wars references. So we do have to end it there. Other questions coming in. I apologize, we can't get to all of them. Reach out to Nick on LinkedIn. He's on Twitter. Go to Data Coach. The promo code, I did put it in the chat, but it is May 4. Nick, well done. Well done. I didn't know if you would get to that other upper limit on Star Wars references, but you got there, man, and I'm proud of you.
I'm glad. I had a little bit of some sound in there too. I was gonna rock, but I wasn't sure if that would just take too far. I didn't want any tears out there. I wasn't sure where we'd be, so I could play an outro if that helps.
Play an outro. Let's play us out, man.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Adam. Appreciate the hosting. Thanks everyone for attending.
You bet. Thanks, Nick. We'll talk to you, bud.